All right, folks, here we go with Greg Roth, the ambassador, David Eby. I am yours truly, Eric Laser, and this is your Sharp Squares podcast for week 15 of the 2024-25 NFL season. Last week, our Sharps were 48.1% against the number. Metal games were 2-2, pick 5, 2-3, 3-2-1, 2-1, although we missed our goal game and went 3 for 6 in total available points. Let's do a quick recap of where we are after 14 weeks of data, folks. We only have 3 Sharps that are doing anything worth mentioning, and they're barely doing anything worth mentioning. It's probably not even worth mentioning, but I'm going to mention it anyway. David Berman, who follows Greg Roth on Twitter, is 8-6. Todd Wishnov is 8-6. Cleve TA is 23-18, or 56.1%. That is their records on side plays versus the lines we get in DraftKings, just to be clear. So it may be slightly off what they're reporting, if they're reporting on prop bets, or if their lines are slightly off from what we are using in DraftKings. They may have slightly different records that they're reporting on their shows. The big names that you are used to hearing and probably listening to the show because of, I'm going to report on some of their records right now. Steve Fezzik is 27-30-1. RJ Bell is 17-25-1. Both from the Dream Preview, Stuckey from the Action Network, 16-23. His co-host, Chris Raybon, 20-21. From Red Angle Sports, Adam Chernoff is 15-21. And now Mike Lombardi, who we're no longer going to be able to get picks from, I don't believe, from my communications with him and what I've learned with his new role at the University of North Carolina. He is currently 22-24 as he enters into sort of Sharp Squares retirement. In aggregate, those big names are 117-144-2, or 45% against the number. A big reason for our struggles this season. Let's talk about teams. Let's talk about when our Sharps play on teams against the number. The best teams, the ones when they pick, the teams cover. And this doesn't necessarily mean they bubble up to gold, silver, bronze on any given week, but I'm just going to give you in aggregate, thanks to Sammy DeBill Gerber and all the data he collects for us, the top teams when they get picked, which probably correlates to ATS records. They could get publicly available, but I'll say it anyway. The Steelers are 21-7 when our Sharps pick them, 75%. The Ravens are 11-3, so we don't take them very often. 11-3, that means if 5 people take them in a given week, that's 14 total picks, 5 of 14 picks in 1 week. So 11-3, that's 78.6% if you don't have a calculator. And the top team, as far as winning percentage against the spread, the Chargers, 21-5, that's 80.8%. How about the teams that are dragging us down? The teams that maybe some of the folks who make our picks can't get away from. The 49ers, which have only been taken 15 times this season, but we've only won with them 3 times. 3-12 when the Sharps take the 49ers, 20%. The Giants, Papadopoulos' Giants, are 3-27 when our Sharps take them. So when the Sharps are on the Giants, 3 wins, 27 losses. My guess is all those wins happened in 1 week. That's 10%. If you're doing your math in your head. And, of course, the worst team, which has been well documented. And the last time we documented this, by the way, they did cover. The Titans, 2 wins, both the week after we discussed the Titans for the first time, and 37 losses. That's 5.1% against the spread. So those are your top teams. Those are your worst teams. Are the Sharps taking those top teams this week? Are they avoiding the worst teams? Well, we're going to tell you all of that through a segment we call Gold, Silver, Bronze. And to deliver all that aforementioned information is everyone's favorite fellow degenerate, the Greg Roth.
Eric, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you and the ambassador today. We have 5 medal games this week. 5 medal games. We do have a gold game. There are no silver games, and there are 4 bronze games. The gold game, the top pick. And there's some trends to support this. I think my view on this has changed. Stay tuned for those trends. The pick. It's the Carolina Panthers.
Let's go.
They're the favorite. They're the favorite. The Carolina Panthers are laying 1.5 at home, welcoming the Dallas Cowboys. Steve Fezzik, RJ Bell, Scott Seidenberg, Ross Tucker, Stuckey, and Gil Alexander all pick Carolina. Cleve TA and Descent pick the Cowboys. There are no silver games. There are 4 bronze games. The top-rated bronze game. The pick. It's a home dog. It's the Cleveland Browns. They're plus 4.5, hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. We have a trend on that game as well. Stay tuned for that. RJ Bell, Chris Raybon, the Favorites Podcast, and Simon Hunter all picked the Browns. Nobody picked the Chiefs. The second bronze game. One of our favorite teams, of course. The pick's the Indianapolis Colts. They're plus 3.5 at the Denver Broncos. We're fading another trend. This is quite a trend section we have coming. Applicable trends on the first 3 medal games. Marco D'Angelo, Whale Capper, Adam Chernoff, and the Favorites Podcast all picked the Colts. Nobody took Denver. The third bronze game, the pick, it's the Houston Texans. They're at home to take on the Miami Dolphins. They're minus 2.5. Gil Alexander and Adam Chernoff picked Houston. Ross Tucker picked the Dolphins. The last medal game, the pick is the Green Bay Packers. They're minus 2.5 in Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Adam Chernoff and the Favorites Podcast and Marco D'Angelo all picked the Packers. There's quite a bit of sharps on Seattle, though. The Whale Capper, Chris Raymond, Steve Fezzik, RJ Bell, and Jay Croucher. So, in summary, the Panthers are gold. The Browns, Colts, Texans, and Packers are bronze. So, guys, for our picks, we have 5 medal games. So, easy pick 5. Panthers at minus 1.5, Browns at plus 4.5, Colts at plus 3.5, Texans at minus 2.5, Packers at minus 2.5 as well. For 3-2-1, a little wrinkle. The Colts move up to our 3-point game. Why? We're getting plus 4.5 in 3-2-1. We're plus 3.5 in DraftKings. The 2-point game is the Panthers, who is the gold game. The line changed as well in 3-2-1. We're minus 2.5 in that pool, minus 1.5 in DraftKings. The Browns stay as well at plus 4.5, the same line. So 3 points Colts, 2 points Panthers, 1 point Browns.
So if that is all you are looking for, you are now all dismissed. All right, Ambassador. Our Scotch drinking friends, Greg Roth, teed up these trends quite nicely. Why don't you start us off?
Well, thank you, Eric. I will do that. Our first trends are from Bet Labs. You can find them at bet_labs on Twitter X. In the Mike Tomlin era, Steelers are 64-35-4 against the spread as underdogs. That's 65%, including 5-0 ATS this season. That, of course, applies to their game with the Eagles this Sunday, where they are a 5.5-point dog. However, this from Action Network, the Battle of Pennsylvania, with this time in Philadelphia. Well, the history of the Steelers-Eagles in Philly hasn't been great for Pittsburgh. They've lost 10 straight games in Philadelphia, failing to cover the spread in 9 straight games on the road against the Eagles. Moving now to the Denver Colts game. Bo Nix is the first quarterback to start 6-0 straight up and against the spread as a favorite all in their rookie year in the Super Bowl era. Nix is the lone remaining quarterback undefeated ATS as a favorite this year with no minimum number of starts required for that statistic. Also, this from the Action Network on Bo Nix. He started all 13 games so far this season for the Broncos, and Denver is 10-3 ATS, covering the number by 6.2 points per game. Entering Week 15, Nix is the most profitable quarterback ATS in the NFL.
Except we're taking the Colts.
Don't panic.
Something to think about.
From the Action Network, road favorites coming off a bye are 77, 54, and 4 since 2004. That is 59%. If you don't have your calculator by you, that is the Ravens and the Commanders. And here's a little boost for you. When the team is above 500 straight up, they are 55 and 35 or 61% against the spread. Also, since 2021, we're going to talk about the Dolphins. They are 5 and 18 straight up versus teams above 500 and 23 and 10 straight up versus teams below 500. That's straight up this season. Next trend, and this is supporting our top goal game. The Panthers have covered the spread in 5 straight games this season. At the moment, folks, the Carolina Panthers own the longest active ATS winning streak in the National Football League. They have gone 33 consecutive games as dogs, being the underdog in 42 of their last 43 games. They were last favored in Week 15, 2022 versus Steelers of all teams. They've lost 9 straight games ATS as a favorite, while every other NFL team has at least 3 covers as a favorite since October of 2021. Again, that's all from the Action Network. The Chiefs, they won and didn't cover again last week. They're 12-1 straight up, 4-8-1 ATS, and are currently on a 7-game ATS losing streak since 1990. Only 2 teams, guys, have had a 75% plus win percentage while on a 7+ game ATS losing streak. The 2024 Chiefs and the 2020 Chiefs. They have lost 7 consecutive games, the longest ATS losing streak of Andy Reid's coaching career.
The gold game handicapping highlights: Panthers -1.5 hosting the Dallas Cowboys. A theme: 33 games since the last time the Panthers were a favorite. For reference, that's 23 months or 103 weeks or 726 days or 17,424 hours. I'm assuming EB did those calculations. Ambassador, did you do those calculations?
That would be incorrect. That would be Deet.
Yeah, I was going to say Deester. That's got Deet written all over it.
Good job, Deep. That's a long time, however you want to calculate it. Handicapping synopsis: Carolina's played very well the past few games in executing exactly what they need to do. Play good, cover the spread, but still lose. The Cowboys had their dreams crushed in the loss last week. It affected our record as well. We had the Cowboys last week. That special teams gaff by Dallas was brutal for us. It was a 2-3 week instead of a 3-2 week on that play. And they had a huge loss on defense with the season-ending knee injury to linebacker DeMarvion Overshown. From Steve Fezzik from the Dream Preview, he thinks Dallas is completely dead, and they know it as the Cowboys just had their Dream Crusher game. Scott Seidenberg, also from the Dream Preview, points out that the aforementioned Dallas linebacker, Overshown, is out with a torn ACL, downgrading their defensive front. From the Action Network and Stuckey, he mentioned that this is a bad spot for Dallas after losing a heartbreaking Monday Night Football game where the season effectively ended. However, for what it's worth, he also mentioned that Carolina is a first-time favorite in 33 games. From Ross Tucker, Even Money, he pointed out the same linebacker injury for Dallas, and that is why he picked the Panthers. Timestamps: Dream Preview 56 minutes 42 seconds, Action Network 23 minutes 30 seconds, Even Money 27 minutes 20 seconds, Beating the Book 57 minutes 50 seconds.
All right, let's move to the Chiefs at the Browns, where the pick is the Browns plus 4.5 points. The theme: well, the trends are going against the Chiefs in this game, including the trend where you want to fade Mahomes when he's a heavy favorite. Despite a key upgrade to the offensive line, Kansas City continued to protect Mahomes last week. Mahomes will have to continue running for his life against a Cleveland defensive line that has been problematic. The highlights in this game: Chris Raybon from the Action Network says Cleveland plays the 4th most man defense in the league, and the Chiefs will struggle against man defense as most of their threats are zone beaters. RJ Bell from the Dream Preview had a very somewhat confusing trend. He said that in week 13 or later in the regular season, and it's an away game, the team that has a winning percentage of 860 or better and who didn't cover by 20 or more in their last game is 9-57 against the spread. That would apply to the Chiefs. And I don't have my calculator next to me, so I don't know what 9-57 equals. Chad Millman from the Favorites says the Chiefs are literally signing secondary players off the street this week, so they could be devastated by the Cleveland passing attack led by famous Jameis Winston. Timestamps, Dream Preview, 5 minutes and 12 seconds, Action Network, 30 minutes exactly. I don't think we've ever had a timestamp of exactly 30 minutes. And the Favorites at 13 minutes and 40 seconds.
Third highest rated game in DraftKings, our 3-point game in 3-2-1, Colts plus 3.5. Theme here is the Colts have nothing to lose and are simply priced long. They're looking wrong. They're looking for a more explosive offense against this Denver defense with all their injuries, and this could be a great matchup for them to make all of that happen. Adam Chernoff mentioned that Indianapolis head coach Shane Steichen said that they want to be more explosive, and they're going to come off the bye being very aggressive. This time of year, offenses tend to open up, and Indy has more reason than ever to see if Anthony Richardson has what it takes. Simon Hunter from the Favorites podcast also said the line is too high. It should be 3 at the most. And that's what we got. Timestamps. RAS, Right Angle Sports, 57 minutes, 53 seconds. Wager Talk, 19 minutes, 15 seconds. The Favorites, 41 minutes, even. I don't know, EB. That was too short. I'm going to do another game on the fly. We have our 5th medal game. The Dolphins at the Texans. We're on the Texans minus 2.5. I'm going to try to wing it here. There's strong handicaps on both sides. From Bet On It, Marco D'Angelo. Huge scheduling disadvantage for Seattle. Green Bay played on Thursday night football, lost versus the Lions, and now they have a full week's rest. And then some Seattle with only 3 days rest, plus they're coming off a huge game versus Arizona. Simon Hunter from the Favorites. This is his bet of the week. Packers minus 2.5. Now, there are some good dissent arguments here on the other side of things. So here we go. Steve Fezzik from the Dream Preview. He has Green Bay 2 points better, and Seattle has a strong home field advantage. So if you give them 2 points, this game should be a pick 'em. He's getting great value, and so he is on the Seahawks. Chris Raybon from the Action Network, he understands this would be a good time to fade a team in a spot like Seattle. However, since week 9, Seattle's defense has looked elite. Linebackers have been able to stop the run without stacking the box, and that helps the secondary. Defense as a whole has gotten healthier, and it's clear that their head coach has made schematic changes to this defense, and Seattle is now playing at another level. He thinks they're undervalued. Timestamps, Bet On It, 5 minutes. Wager Talk, 53 minutes, 45 seconds. Action Network, 45 minutes, 50 seconds. And the Dream Preview, 21 minutes, 43 seconds. Great job to the production team. Notes were great this week. Just a reminder, none of those guys and none of us are truly sharp. But this is your Sharp Squares podcast.
Good luck out there.